I just want to come in and have this conversation. I don't think I ever talked about this, right? I don't think I ever talked about this topic right here. And I want to really talk about this because I know it's going to help some people, right? And the topic I want to talk about is narcissistic in-laws, right? And I want to talk about this because when you have narcissistic in-laws and you don't know how to deal with them, right? In the beginning, they are going to destroy your marriage. They are going to destroy your kids. They are going to destroy any and everything you're trying to build. You don't nip it in the bud in the beginning, right? So when you have narcissistic in-laws, especially narcissistic mother-in-laws, who because a lot of in-laws, they think they own their children. They think they own their grandchildren. They don't see their children and grandchildren as individuals. They don't see their family members as individuals. They see their family members as an extension of themselves, which means that they don't have any boundaries, right? They don't have any boundaries. They feel like they can do and say anything. They feel like they don't have to respect your space. They feel like they don't have to respect your children. They feel like they don't have to ask for permission to do things that concerns you, right? Especially when you're dealing with the narcissistic mother-in-law. When you're dealing with the narcissistic mother-in-law, she thinks she is God, right? She thinks she is God. And if you don't bow down to her, and if you don't acquiesce, if you don't give in to all of her demands, she's going to make your life a living hell or try. Okay. And people don't talk about this a lot, that when you're dealing with in-laws, regardless if you have good in-laws or narcissistic ones, it is important that you establish boundaries in the beginning. Because if you don't establish boundaries in the beginning, it's going to cause a lot of pain later on, right? It's going to cause a lot of pain in your relationships with your husband, with your spouse, with your children. And when you're dealing with these different in-laws, right? These different spirits, if you don't bow down to them, if you don't agree and say yes to what they want, they're going to make you seem like, you're the worst person ever because you got boundaries. They're going to exaggerate any little thing that you do. But see, the thing is, in this, you have to know who you are. When you know who you are, when they're, going on there, I call it their narcissistic rages. When you know who you are, right? It doesn't matter what they say and what they do, because they have a heavy spirit of manipulation and deception. They operate in a lot of witchcraft, right? And when I mean witchcraft, it is not like they have to be creating potions. They like deception. They like mixing the truth with a lie. They like going against something is right for your family, for your children. They will deliberately go against what is right. They'll deliberately do things to hurt your children, knowing in the long run it's going to hurt them. Especially when you have grandkids, you have to be careful. If you know your in-laws are narcissistic, try to keep those grandkids away from them. Try to be honest as possible. Although you try not to put your kids and all the family dysfunction, you have to try your best to guard your children. It's your responsibility to guard your children. See, I didn't know that. When I experienced this type of behavior, dealing with these type of in-laws, see, I didn't know, because my grandparents, see, when you brought up a certain way, you think everybody is like that. You right? You don't know no other way. So when I grew up, when my grandmother, when I grew up, my grandmothers were loving grandmothers. They were, God-fearing women. They were honest women. They were not petty, or, you know, my idea of a grandmother was different from what I've experienced dealing with narcissistic in-laws, right? My experience was different. So I went into certain situations thinking every grandparent is like that, right? And I found out the hard way. See, the reason I'm able to talk about this so much because of obviously I've experienced it or have gone through it, right? And I'm sharing my story. Um, when I first ran into dealing with these rage fits from people, um, this getting upset because people can't have their way in my life. I didn't know how to deal with that because I never experienced that. When you're young, you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know you dealing with narcissism. You don't know you dealing with people who got bipolar and all these different disorders. You don't know that. You find that out later on, right? So I didn't find some of this stuff out till later on. But when you're dealing with these type of people, and they can't have their way, they're going to try to make your life miserable. They're going to try to make your life a living he double hockey stick. And if you're not rooted in prayer and rooted in fasting and rooted in God, it will drive you crazy because you can't fight that. That's spiritual. You're dealing with a spiritual fight. You can't fight that naturally, right? So, but what I was saying is, I didn't know I was dealing with these type of spirits until later on. You don't feel like you don't realize you're dealing with narcissistic spirits until 10, 20, 30 years later, right? You're not aware of these type of spirits in certain families, right? So when you dealing with these type of spirits, you have to address issues in the beginning. You have to address these issues in the beginning because if not, these spirits are in the progress, they're in the progress of destroying your life, or at least trying to, because they can't destroy nothing God is protecting. They try to, okay? Look, um, these spirits, I'm just talking about narcissistic in-laws, how they destroy families and marriages, destroy kids and destroy grandkids, and they want to continue this cycle. But you have to realize when you see these different spirits, and you only know these spirits by the spirit. And you only gonna know what you're dealing with when you're rooted in God, right? We can't be too, that's another thing. We can't be too religious because a lot of these narcissistic people, these in-laws, they very religious. Oh, they very religious. They'll hit you with that honor that mother and that father real quick, right? All while you know, they're a whole demon over there. Why they ain't got no honor that mom, why they're not living, and they're not living what they want. Okay, they're not living right. They're not walking in that spirit of God, but they want to demand you bow down. See, I'm not religious anymore. I grew up out of that mindset, right? I stand on truth. And see, these spirits like to throw up that honor thy mother, especially them women. They like to throw up honor thy mother. Um, but they're a whole demon. Look, they're a whole demon. They got some stuff they need to deal with. And they'll get mad, they'll get jealous of the daughter-in-law. You know what I experienced? I experienced a mother um get jealous of her sons, jealous of her son, jealous of her son's wife, jealous of her son's family. And when that family separated, she gloated in that separation. She didn't consider the mindset of the children. This is when I know this demon, this is how I know a person is demonic and they're selfish. She didn't consider the mindset of them grandkids. She didn't consider where the mindset of them grandkids would be, right? Um, Yeah, she didn't, they don't consider the mind, she didn't consider the mindset of the grandkid. This is why I say I never respect a person like this. Um, People always want to demand respect, but they don't want to give it, right? They want to demand respect, but they don't want to give it. And that's not how that go. That's not how that go. And I've noticed with in-laws, when they can't run, rule, and reign in your life, when you don't bow down to them, when they can't come in and set up shop and how you should be, because now you're part of their family. Not that you're creating your own family, right? Not that, okay, your daughter is married, your son is married, and you need to fall back and let them figure out how they want to run their family. When they can't come in and set up that demonic shop, which means you bow down and kiss their feet every time they come around. Oh, they gonna make sure you're not happy. They gonna make sure they always have some commotion going on, right? They gonna make sure they turn them kids against you, them grandkids. And y'all, I tell y'all got to be careful. If you know your in-laws is narcissistic, they dealing with all kind of mental illnesses, because they'll do stuff for you, but that's called love bombing. They gonna do stuff for you. They gonna do stuff for you, your children, your son, their son. They gonna do stuff for y'all because that is a down payment. When they do stuff for you, that's a down payment so they can come collect later. They gonna throw it up in your face. And with these in-laws, they will throw up everything they ever did for that child. I think I talked about this on one video. It's funny, but it ain't funny when you're going through it. But when you step back, it's funny. They gonna throw up everything they ever did for that child because they want to make them feel guilty. They want to make them feel guilty. There's always a guilt trip that they're throwing. See, I can see straight through that. And see, them narcissistic in-laws, they gonna hate you. If you got the eyes, if you prophetic and see, and you can see they soul, they gonna hate you. They gonna destroy you. They gonna make sure they destroy your character because your character is all you have, right? Your character is all you have. So what they're going to do, they're going to destroy your character. They're gonna come straight for your character because they want people to look like you're crazy, right? I had some bacon and some eggs. Excuse me. They gonna make people seem like you crazy. They're gonna make people seem like you evil. They're gonna make people seem like you just unhinged. They're gonna talk about you so bad. And see, people are going to be confused because they're they're saying all this stuff about you, and your character don't even match that. How you are don't even match that. A lot of them narcissistic in-laws, especially the mother-in-laws, they like to project. They will project all of that hate that they have in their heart and try to put that onto you, right? And try to put that on to you. Um, and they'll try to project that. They want to try to swap out identities. This thing is very spiritual. It's very spiritual, and only people who've experienced stuff like this gonna get it, right? They love to try to swap out identities. They always want to take all of your good characteristics as if they're you and try to portray that evilness, right? That evilness, what they got in their heart, to you. But when you can see through them spirits, they gonna hate you. They gonna do everything to tear you down. When you can see that dark heart, and let me tell you something too about these spirits. These spirits are they're so weak. They're so weak and they're so weak-minded, right? They're so weak and so weak-minded. I lost my train of thought. What I was gonna say. It was a good train of thought, but somebody just passed by. Distracting. But anyways, they're so weak. And so childish. Like these spirits have not grown up. They're caught up. They're trapped inside of a box that something happened to them when they're a child. So they still trapped in that child's mindset. And these people, and they love to have tantrums. They will have tantrums when they can't get their way. They will have a tantrum. A grown adult will have a temper tantrum. That's when you know that that spirit is narcissistic, right? That's when you know that spirit is narcissistic. When they have a temper tantrum and they can't have their way over little things, right? Over little things, you know that spirit. You know that's a narcissistic spirit. When they can't get to you, they'll attack your children. They'll use your children against you. When they can no longer get to their child through you, they'll use your children. And see, they groom. That's what I want to talk about too. They will groom your children. See, that's a spirit. See, when you're dealing with in-laws, like what I'm talking about, this is a spirit that is in that bloodline. So what they'll do, they'll find a golden. See, I didn't know this, right? I didn't know this until later. I didn't even know what I was dealing with. I didn't know. Look, I didn't know what I was dealing with until later. I knew some of this stuff was in my family too, and that's what happens. A lot of this stuff be in your families, and then when you get in relationships, you marry people similar to what you got going on in your family, right? And that's how them generational curses continue. But what these spirits will do, they'll give you things. Oh, they love giving because that giving is security. That giving is what I call, like I was saying earlier, it's love bombing. Because if somebody give you something, you're gonna feel obligated to take their side. You're gonna feel obligated to side with them, even in their wrong. I don't care. You can give me the world. If you wrong, I'm gonna say you wrong. I'm gonna stand for what's true. Look, I'm gonna stand for what's true. But I didn't know what I was dealing with. Sometimes you don't know what you're dealing with until years later, right? You don't know what you're dealing with until years later. You don't know because you thinking it's just normal because that's what you've been raised up in too. You've been raised up in something similar. So you in assimilation, something that's similar to what you were raised in. People never communicating. People getting mad at you because they can't have their way in your life. People getting upset because you got boundaries. You telling them, okay, you can't come over to my house right now. Um, People getting upset with you because you don't want them around your children because they don't even like you. How you want my child around you and you don't like me? You can do anything to my child. You can say anything to my child, right? You can brainwash my child. That's what happened to me too. Like, um, me being young, see, I was young going through this type of stuff. I didn't know. And when you don't know, you just don't know. You can't beat yourself up about it either. And that's another thing. Stop beating yourself up because you didn't know certain things. Stop beating yourself up. It's a lot of things I didn't know. You think people sometimes know stuff they don't know. And that's why you got to give yourself grace. The same grace you give other people, you give yourself grace too. Because you didn't know. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know what type of spirits I was dealing with. I'm always people pleasing, trying to make sure everybody else happy. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know the type of demonic, the Holy Spirit. God had to teach me what type of spirits I was dealing with. I had to be taught this in a quiet and secret place, getting close to God so He can show me the truth. This spirit was trying to take me out. Jealous, Um, I never experienced the jealousy and hate. Um, I never experienced so much jealousy and hate and slander. And like I never experienced this. I wouldn't wish this on nobody. When you're dealing with these different in-laws, especially mother-in-laws, I wouldn't wish this on nobody. What I've experienced, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Just draining. I never experienced someone, you know, I just never experienced, like to me, this was new to me. Although, and see, that's the thing. Boy, you think you be having dysfunction. I thought my life was dysfunctional. I can only imagine what the other person went through. They ain't gonna call no name. When you think your life is dysfunctional and you meet other people, then you meet their family and you see how their family is, right? And you think on the surface it seems like they got it all together, but when you meet people and they family, a lot of them erratic. They always yelling and hollering and just erratic, and they think that's normal. Look, you be like, I thought my life was dysfunctional. And that's another thing. People who like it's so much. I'm gonna put this in the book. I got to put it in the book because it's just too much to talk about, especially on this spiritual level. Um, but I'm gonna stick to the topic. Another thing, when you're dealing with these type of in-laws, right, and they're narcissistic, they're jealous. They're jealous because they don't have the drive. They don't have the ambition. They don't have the spiritual connection because their heart is so dark. And when they see somebody else bright and bubbly and shining, they want to zap that out of you. They want to zap that out of you. I've never felt so suppressed in my life dealing with these spirits. Because me, I'm normally, and this is when I knew I was dealing with something. When you're dealing with these narcissistic in-laws and you dealing with this narcissistic spirit, when you're connected to certain people, your nature, your true nature will be suppressed. My true nature is outgoing. My true nature is talkative. The personality I have on YouTube, oh, that thing big in person. And I'm not like that 100% of the time, but I'm like that 95% of the time. But when you dealing with these spirits, your true nature will be suppressed. It's like you can't talk. You don't want to be, hey Robin, you don't want to be yourself because I'm bubbly. When I tell you I got all the energy. I bring all the energy, all the good energy. This is my natural self. But when I was dealing with these spirits, I couldn't be myself. That's why people looking at me like, and I've been dealing with this a long time. So therefore, I was suppressed. My spirit was suppressed, although a little bit of me poked out and peeked out, right? Um, although a little bit of myself still was there, I wasn't me 100% because my personality is big. I got big energy. That's just me. I love to laugh. I love to dance. I'm outgoing. But when I was dealing with these spirits, I was so suppressed. I was like in a sunken place. You saw the movie Get Out? I was in that place. And that's why people looking at me, they probably think I'm fake now. Because for so long, my spirit had been suppressed. I got my one friend, we real good friends. She was like, Monique, I just thought you was always serious. Because when I was going to church, I had this more serious demeanor, right? I had this more serious demeanor and I wasn't my outgoing self. And now she see me at 100%. She was like, I'm not used to this. And this is me. But people don't understand when you suppressed and when you under different spells and when you're dealing with witchcraft and fighting off these spirits, you can't be yourself. All of your energy is spent fighting. All of your energy is spent praying. All of your energy is spent fasting. All of your energy is spent reading the word. You trying to fight, you know? Exactly. Exactly, Lynn Smith. And that's why I talk about it, not to put anyone down, but you got to know who you are. You Before you get married, you got to be healed within yourself. When I got married at the time, I didn't know who I was. I shouldn't have been getting married, right? I shouldn't have been getting married because I didn't know who I was. I was young. Um, I was young and grew up. When you grew up in religion, you know that you think that's the right thing to do. And you tend to just follow tradition and not really understand the times and what you're dealing with. I got a book that I'm working on. Hey, Fermaine, I got a book that I'm working on that talks about just that. I'll give the title later on just to protect the integrity of the book. But I got a book I'm working on that God put in my heart to write. And it talks about things you need before you get married. Okay. um, but I didn't know. And then too, you can't see one thing about me, I'm not gonna be ashamed. Because some people be ashamed about different things. I'm not, so you can't shame me. When I grew up as a child, my mom was an addict. And when you grow up in some black communities, people talking about bullying today, they don't know what bullying is. When you grow up in certain communities, especially in our black community, I'm not putting us down. It just is what it is, right? It's the truth. When you grow up in these certain black communities, oh, people gonna talk about your mama. And I remember growing up as a child. It's funny now because children gonna be children. I've done it. Children have done it. That's just what it is. But I was gonna say I can't be shamed because I grew up living and I had to be what that thing is, the term I'm looking for. Not tough skin, but I was brought up in the fire. Let me just say that. Because my mom, she was an addict. And so my mom used to walk the streets all drunk, talking to herself and stuff. And the kids knew, my mom, and they always used to be picking and laughing at my mom. And I had to go to school every day dealing with that, right? Yes, it was cruel of children, but you got to think that's what children do. Children are going to be children. I can't get mad at those kids. I was a child. I did stupid things, but that built something up in me. So I'm not ashamed of different things. What people normally want to hide and be shamed of, I don't care. You know, I know I don't look like it. Like certain things just can't embarrass me anymore. I don't went through the worst embarrassment of embarrassment. I've been through that as a young child. So nothing really, like, I have to be wise in what I say. Of course, yes, I have to be wise in what I say, but there isn't anything that'll make me feel embarrassed. That's why I tell my kids, y'all got to be thankful. Be thankful you didn't have to deal with what I dealt with. Like, if my kids had to go through a fraction of what I had to go through, I just know it won't be good. Let me just say that. So I just try to tell them to be thankful. But anyways, you have to give yourself grace. That's what I was talking about. Give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up because you didn't know. I didn't know certain things, right? I went through things I didn't know, right? I didn't even know, right? Like sometimes you got to you know what the word says? There's somewhere in the word. I don't know what scripture this is. Somebody Google it for me. And God gave me a revelation the other day, and I mentioned it in the video. He said, agree with your adversary quickly. He said to agree with them quickly. If somebody lying on you and they said you did XYZ, now if it's legal, now you got to be smart. But if it's just chatter and they just hearsay, yep, I did it. Yep, sure did. Whatever you think, if you think that, you have to agree with them because what I've noticed, the enemy wants you to fight. The enemy wants you to fight, and the enemy wants you to be combative and trying to, clear your name and trying to get people to see you in a different light. I don't even care anymore. Look, Robin, family, I don't care. Okay. I've been through what I've been through. I'm not ashamed of it. Now I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna teach people, okay, how to rise up out of that. I'm going to teach people from my experience. I'm going to write books because of my experience. The devil should have left me. He should have took me out when he had me. When he had me down and I was on my last limb, he should have took me all the way out. Because he didn't take me all the way out. I'm coming back harder and I'm coming back with more fire. I'm coming back stronger. He's not going to silence me how he did all those years. Had me shame, had me, feeling shame and feeling, like my life was falling apart. When God told me your life wasn't falling apart, girl, your life was coming together. I was removing what couldn't go with you. I was removing what could not go with you, right? We think stuff be falling apart. We think we be losing things. When God try to separate us from different things, try to separate us from different things to get us to fulfill our purpose. And we got to change. I'm so glad that God gave me a gift. He gave me a gift of perspective. He gave me a gift to change my perspective about things. Things that people would normally be embarrassed about, things what I share, and people would be like, I wouldn't share that. Or people would be like, I wouldn't have told nobody that. God gave me a perspective, right? He gave me a perspective to look at it different, look at the lesson I can learn from it. Because that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you to be silent. All of the greats, you think about all of the greats. Think about the Dr. Kings, although they have their perspective and what they want to believe about, Dr. King, Malcolm X, all of those, their voice was the biggest threat. They didn't have weapons. They didn't have no nuclear weapons. They didn't have no, they didn't have anything. It is your voice that is a threat to people. And the enemy tried to come for my voice so many times. He tried to silence me in shame, tried to silence me in disappointment, tried to silence me and my children acting a fool, you know, tried to keep me silent. He wanted to bring different things upon me to keep me silent. I'm not ashamed of that. I've been through worse. Look, I've been through, I just look like this. And see, that's the thing. People size you up, and that's why you shouldn't bother people. Let me tell you, that's why you shouldn't bother people. You don't know what people don't been through. You don't know what type of fight they have in them. People come and they look at me and they size me up because I'm kind. I come off gullible. I come off naive. But there's a fight in me. I will wear you out. Not, and that's not physical. I will wear a demon out spiritually if they come bothering me. All the hell I don't went through, and you come and bother me, and I haven't done anything to you, I will wear you out. That's why you shouldn't bother people. You shouldn't bother people who you shouldn't bother people who you don't know anything about. Because some people, when they speak, things happen. Some people, when they pray, and you wondering why, you know, you wondering why things happen. You bothering the wrong folks. Just leave people alone. But anyways, as I digress, let me get back on topic. But when you're dealing with these different spirits, these different in-laws, you got to be prayerful, right? You got to be prayerful. You got to understand you nip stuff in the bud in the beginning. If you're getting married, you got to understand that that marriage is between you and your husband, you and your wife. You get married, then you invite people in your life based on the respect they have for your marriage. It's not an automatic that people get to come in your life. I don't care if it is your mom. I don't care. I don't care if it is your dad. I don't care if it is your children. Don't get married if you don't want to set up those boundaries. If you're married and you know you have children from a prior relationship, don't get married if your children gonna come first all the time. Don't get married. I know this sounds crazy, but if you don't set them boundaries up front, if you don't have that conversation, because I notice people don't have conversation when it comes to all these different dynamics. They be scared to have conversations, and they get in relationships thinking things are going to fix themselves. Things rarely fix themselves. Only thing comes when you don't have conversation is chaos. And see, I was too young to have a conversation. I was too young to understand the dynamics and the importance of marriage. That's why I encourage people, don't get married until your frontal lobe has developed. Don't get married until you know who you are. Till you are healed, you know who you are, you know what you want, and you are a healed individual. You healed your daddy wounds, and you're not looking for your husband to be your dad. You healed your mommy wounds, and you're not looking for your wife to be your mom. Because most men and most women, we're looking for a dad in our spouses, and that's too much weight and pressure to put on that person. That's too much weight to put. Can you all see me? Hold on. Phone ran hot. Can you all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. My phone ran hot, so I had to. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My phone ran hot. So I had to make sure I had to cool it off with my air conditioner in my car. But what I was going to say, yes, like don't get married until you're healed because it won't be a good marriage. You if you want a good marriage, a happy marriage, which is it is possible. Make sure you are healed. Make sure you know who you are. Make sure you're not just young and doing it because church say to do it, because your pastor say to do it, because your family say that's what you need to do. No, don't do it based on that. Do it based on you are healed, you know exactly what you want. You know what type of curses you dealing with getting connected to that person, what type of generation of curses, what type of kids, your kids, like they're gonna have to fight these different spirits. When you have um when you have kids and you mingle, your kids are going to have to fight these different spirits and these families. A lot of families dealing with homosexuality and lesbianism. Your kids are going to grow up dealing and fighting these spirits, different addictions. If no one has broken that, they're going to grow up fighting that. And you're going to be looking like what you did because you didn't raise them like that. You didn't raise them around it. And you're going to be looking like what you did wrong. And it's nothing you did. It's what's in that bloodline. That's why some parents beating themselves up. See, I understand this, and I don't take on my kids' failures as they are my own, right? Because I'm a witness. I was just telling my neighbor last night. Parents got to stop taking on failures of their children. All those when your children make a decision to do stupid things, it is not your responsibility, right? Um, It is not your responsibility to try to recoup and make yourself look different in a different light because your children made a decision. I told my neighbor last night we was talking about our children. I was telling her, I said, as parents, especially moms, dads don't do this. Sometimes dads don't even be caring. But as moms, we take on the failures of our children as if we failed. And I'm not doing that as a mom. Because I know in my heart, I'm gonna speak the truth, I'm gonna set the example, and I'm gonna tell you what's right. It's up to you, not if you don't listen, it's up to you. And I told my neighbor, I said, I watched my mom from the age of 5 years old until she passed away. I watched her deal and battle with mental illness due to drug related issues. YouTube don't ding me, but I'm gonna speak the truth. I watched my mom buy and smoke crack all my life. And I never once touched a drug. Although I watched this for over 30 something years, I never touched and I never desired to because I made a decision. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to be like my mom. I didn't want to be like my dad. So for these kids, some of these kids to make an excuse that it's their parents' fault for certain things. And sometimes it is because some parents are abusive. I'm not making no excuse for that, right? Some parents are abusive. But my thing is, I made a decision that I wouldn't do that at a young age. So this is how I know it's not always the parents' fault. My mom didn't raise me. My mom did not raise me. Is that an excuse for me not to be a decent mom and try my best? No. Because see, I understand and I don't hate my mom. I loved my mom. My understanding and my perspective is I understood the times we're in. I understood what she had to deal with and what she had to battle. And everybody's not as strong in the mind. Everybody's not as strong. Sometimes your children are not as strong, and that's okay. But you have to still speak the truth. have to still speak the truth and let them know they can't have any excuses. I'm not giving my kids room to make excuses. You got a decision to make. And I know I'm one of them hard parents. I know parents always trying to be soft and make excuses for their kids. I don't have excuses for my kids. It's too many resources out here, too much help. You had too much of a leg up. You had too much of a leg up. And if you want to make dumb decisions, stupid decisions, you're going to eat that. You're not going to turn around and look at me and say it was my mama. I can't speak for nobody else, but you're not going to say it was mama. We have to hold these kids accountable. I know accountability feels like an attack to some people when they don't want to agree. But this is why I say it's not always the parents' fault. So who get the credit? Because I didn't touch drugs. Who get that credit? Who get the credit because I didn't become an alcoholic? Who get the credit because I finished school and my parents them didn't finish school? Who get the credit for that? Oh, but when it's all negative, it falls on the mom. When it's all negative, it's the mom's fault. And I hear a lot of this foolishness online where people are blaming moms for everything, as if the moms brought the child in the world by themselves. It takes two to tango. But for some reason, all that hate and all that vitriol falls on the mom. But I know one thing, I'm gonna put that burden, that monkey, back on their backs. Put that monkey back on their backs. I'm not gonna take response. I'm not taking responsibility for nothing that's not mine. If you come tell me, mom, when you were little, and my child come tell me, mom, when I was little, you said this and you said that, and I'll make that right. But your stupid decisions, I'm not taking accountability for that. And I sleep good at night. But anyways, I digress. I got off that. But y'all have to be careful. These in-laws, I'm telling you, if you want, and all in-laws are not created equal. Let me just say that. Let me just say all in-laws are not created equal. You got some in-laws who are secure with themselves. They love their daughter-in-laws. You got some monster-in-laws and you got some real, you got mother-in-laws and you got some mother monster-in-laws. And everybody don't have that, right? Everybody don't have that. Everybody don't have, jealous in-laws, jealous mother-in-laws. Everybody don't have um mother-in-laws that don't want their children to succeed and be happy and thrive. I'm one of them moms. I want my children to do better than me. It's an honor to see my kids make more money than me, do better than me, have more education than me, have a bigger house than me. It is an honor to see my kids excel instead of keeping them low. It is an honor to see that your child doing better than you, got better things than you, have more. It's to me, people are different, but everybody don't have that. Everybody don't have hateful, jealous mother-in-laws that don't want to see their children excel, see their children thrive, always creating confusion amongst their children, keeping their children at odds. Everybody don't have, everybody don't, people, and some people have not experienced things I talk about. Some people are like, what is she talking about? Because that's not their experience. But some people who've experienced it know exactly what I'm talking about. That's how you know everything is not for everyone. Everything is not for everyone. So, but I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk about this some more in detail because I feel like I was all over the place. Um, but I'm gonna have some pointers and I'm gonna come back and discuss this. And it's okay. It's okay to set boundaries. You don't have to always, and see, Me, because I had that people pleasing spirit. I had that people pleasing spirit. They are not robbing. Girl, they are not. Listen, they'll go so far as destroying their grandkids. They'll go so destroy as taking things from their children, making it hard for them, crying and using manipulation and sicknesses on days that supposed to be days that, and this spirit is just so demonic. Like, this spirit, you just have to ignore it and not deal with it, because they amp up, they increase the, what they say, increase amp the ante. They increase, the older they get, the more the more wicked they get. Um, what I was going to say, I was going to say something, but yeah, these spirits, you got to know how to deal with them. Yes, they up. Yes, they do. You would think they supposed to get loving. Look, these spirits, I tell you, these spirits, and then you would think these people. And see, this how you know it's. This is how you know. I'm talking about in-laws. I'm talking about narcissistic in-laws. Um, these people. I'm being nosy. I got you. Look, y'all probably see me veering off from time to time because I do have things going on around me, and I do get. I'm very, I'm very tentative to my surroundings. So, but these people get wickeder over time, right? They get wickeder over time. And if they can't take you out, they'll work on them kids. They'll use them kids against you to try to take you out. Okay? If they can't use their child to get to you, they'll go to your grandkids. They'll pick the weakest one. They'll pick the weakest one whom they've been grooming. Right? They've been grooming them from a child, you know. Um, they've been grooming them and love bombing them from a child, and they'll use that weak one against you. They'll use that child against you. And sometimes you have to release your own children. You have to release your own children sometimes. I'm being honest. And if you want to keep peace, you have to let them kids go too, especially when they become of age. You have to release them kids. You give them back to God, let God deal with them. But you don't stay in the mix, because as long as you stay in the mix, they're taking your energy. They're taking your peace. You can't sleep at night. You on antidepressants. You taking volume and all these other meds that you got to use to go to sleep. No. And that's what them spirits want. They want to zap your energy. They want to take up your energy. That's why you go around some of these people, your whole demeanor change. Like when you go around some of these people, your whole demeanor change because they're taking up your energy. The demonic spirits taking up your energy. And it is true. It's very true. Very. So I want to talk about that. I'm gonna come and talk about this again because I had been quiet about this subject for way too long. I think this is the time to really start discussing and talking about this, because I've experienced a lot and I had to fight a lot. Dealt with so much with this that I can speak on it, right? And people were slaying, these in-laws who they would slander you, and and the only reason they slander you because that child um had been talking about you too. So if that's your spouse had been talking about you, making it seem like you are the villain, making it seem like you're the person. Everything they've done to you, they say you done it. Because there's a playbook to narcissism. It's the same. It's the same. If you go online and listen to people talk about this spirit, they have no creativity. It's the same type of spirit. People just experience it differently. It's the same. They have no creativity. It's the same demonic playbook, right? It's the same demonic playbook. And that spirit wants you silent. They want you silent. They don't want you to talk about your experience. That's why a lot of people are online talking about this because that's their outlet, right? and that's their outlet, and you sharing your story is going to help someone else. And you can't be shamed. You can't be worried about who's going to see it. You can't be worried about your coworkers and your family and the people who watching you. You can't be worried about if they see it or not. They need to see it. When you have that desire to speak, that's God putting it in you to come speak to help someone else. We make everything about us. Everything is always about us. I don't want to look like this. I don't want nobody to share this video. I don't want nobody talking about me. I always like that when I first came to YouTube. Like I didn't want to. No, 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 no. You can't make that about you. To get over myself, I had to get over myself. Worried about what people gonna say. They gonna. One thing I know, people, and I learned this at a young age. People are going to talk regardless. People are going to talk regardless. So whether you're doing good or bad, you can't worry about folks. I had to get over it. I had to get over myself. Worried about people and if they gonna say something. They've been saying something. When you were on your best behavior, they were talking about you. Look, when I was on my best behavior, trying to be, a good old saint, they gonna talk about you. So you got to do what you gotta do. You can't worry about people. You can't worry about people and what they're going to say and how they're going to perceive you. Some people gonna get you and some people don't. You're not for everybody. That's the thing I had to learn. I'm not for everybody. And everybody's not for me, and that's okay. We're not put in this world to be liked by everyone. We're not put in this world to we're not put in this world to be liked by everyone and to please everybody. Once I was delivered from that people pleasing spirit, I don't care. I really don't. Because I know I'm kind. Just because I speak truth, that don't make me a horrible person. And we got to stop boxing and placing limits on ourselves because we speak the truth. People think because we speak the truth, we're bitter. Ain't nothing bitter about the truth. What's bitter is what's bitter is you can no longer keep me, right? Keep me silent. I get to tell my truth. You told your truth, right? You tell people what I've done, okay, and how evil I am. So I get to tell my side of the story. Okay? Which is the side of the truth. But can't let people silence you. You come and you share and you help, you write, you teach on what it is that you've gone through. And I know God has given me a teaching mantle on certain things that are spiritual, right? I know he did. I know he did. And I have to honor that. I have to honor that gift and I have to be obedient to that gift. And you got to remember when people can no longer silence and control you, um, because they want that shame to be, they want that shame to be like a mistletoe. But when you admit, you say, "Oh yeah, that's true. I did that. I got that. I went through that." Hmm. You say that, what else they have? See, that's the thing. You have to take the pain out of that. Because we think, see, what I've learned, people are not concerned with us how we think they are. The enemy just uses what we think is going to bring us shame against us. The enemy used that against us in our mind. But the minute you agree to it, you take your power back. You take your power back. I already made up in my mind. If people try to bring up certain things when it's needed for me to agree or address it, I already made up my mind. I'm gonna address that right then and there. You'll never be able to have the power over me and to silence me out of shame and embarrassment. No, I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm not gonna let you do that. That's why I love Tiffany Montgomery. I know a lot of people hate her, but that's why I love her because she don't let people silence her. She don't let what people say, you know, stop her from coming, doing what she needs to do. Everybody talk about her negatively. And people always try to use things against you to silence you. If God is gonna use your voice, they'll come and attack that. Oh, I don't like the way she say stuff. I don't like how she say this. She say this. She say that. He say. People will always try to use that against you. It happened to me. You don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to. No, no matter how I say it, I could come. I could be like a little humble sheep, look a little lamb, come in docile and soft and humble and meek. You said it too low. You spoke too soft. I couldn't hear you. And mad about that. So it doesn't. It's not the delivery. Remember, when you call to use your voice, it's never the delivery. It's the deliverer. It's the person who's delivering the message. Remember that. It's never the delivery. I've tested this myself. I've tested this with people myself. It's never the delivery. It's the person who is delivering the message. I remember I came, I'm like a little sheep. I'm sorry. Bowing down, paying homage. I'm sorry. You bowing down too much. You hey, what you want? You want or you want over the top? That's why I know it's the person delivering. It's never the deliverer. Because you know one thing about when you have a gift, people gonna love you. It's two-sided. It's never in between. There's no gray areas when you're anointed to use your voice. People gonna love you or hate you. It's always two sides. Love or hate. There's no in between. And you have to be okay with that. I'm so glad I was delivered from people pleasing. Like, oh my goodness. I had to really, oh, you know how much fasting and praying I did? I was really, and that's what it's about, Tony. Tanya. Tanya 722 is always it's the truth. It is the truth. It's not about what you say. It is that truth that stings. Because I know I had a person just swear they thought I was gonna bow down. See when people think they know you, see people will study you, right? Especially when you're family. People will study you and they just swear they know you. Oh, I grew up with such and such. Oh, I grew up, I know how she is. Not knowing you grew up with me, but you didn't grow with me. Okay? You grew up with me when I was a child. I thought as a child, but when I grew and became an adult, I turned away from the childish things. They don't know the grown you. They know the broken you, the ratchet you, the unhealed you, right? The you not knowing, you not knowing, you not having a mom in your life, you not having a dad in your life, the wild you. They don't know the healed you. They don't know the delivered you. They don't know the I know who I am you. I'm gonna say they don't know the fam you. That's when I know it's time for me to go. You know, the fam you, that's the university, if y'all don't know. But it's time for me to go when I go to cracking jokes. Yes, they know you to a degree, but they don't know you. You grew up. Exactly. They don't know the heal you. God been nurturing and molding you, taking away your shame and your traumas and all of your, voids that you had. They don't know you. And that's what people don't realize. They want you to be who you used to be because that make them feel good about themselves. When they see you and they know you're not the same, they want to put you back in that box because it makes them feel good about themselves because they haven't done anything different. In all those years that y'all grew up together, they have not grown at all. So they want to put you back in that little limited box so they can come down to your level. So you can come down to their level. And you like, set me free. I'm free. Get me up out of that limitation. You can't put me in a box. That's another thing they'll do. This when you know you're growing And you have to get past this. This kept me bound and limited for years. I'm gonna tell you the word that kept me bound and limited from family. When they go to saying you think you better because you want to do better, or you want to move different or grow, you think you better, that kept me stuck. That kept me bound for years because I didn't want my family to feel like I thought I was better than them. That's a word from the pit of hell to keep you limited. If they say you think you better, you better keep going. Tell them you are better. I'm better than this. I'm not better than you, but I'm better than doing this. Start saying I am better. I want better. Don't let them limit you because you want to do better. Like, what is wrong with you? Then they sit in there with their face all contorted because you want better. Them family generation of curses, they don't like for you to leave. Them spirits in the family, that's a crab in the bucket mentality. Soon as you try to break a curse, everybody and their grandmother in that family come for you. Your character. Let's talk about it. They come for you spiritually. They come for you. They can't wait. They watch you like a hawk. They can't wait till stuff go wrong in your life. They can't wait for stuff to go wrong in your life, wrong with your children. They can't wait to hear bad news about you. I remember when I was going through my separation from my husband at the time. I ain't never talked about that, but y'all know now. But when I was going through my separation, I never saw so many people gloating in that. They gloated in that. Gloated in my son when he was going through his little mental health challenges. And true, I'm being real with y'all today. I don't know why God want me to be real. I'm being real and raw. I really never got to this, but I never saw so many people gloat. I mean, they came around, you felt their spirit was happy. You know what I'm saying? You can feel, see, that's when I know I had a spiritual gift. And that's why I don't deal with folks because your spirit is gloating. Your spirit is gloating in the downfall, in the challenge of my child, and the challenge of, my kids going through. You don't want to deal with people like that. They gloated in that, but they just don't know that Romans 8:28. God gonna Romans 8:28 that thing. All the ones that gloated and glorified in that, them are gonna be the same ones that gotta see God elevate you through the situation. He gonna them the same ones that's gonna see you elevate, you do grander and more grander things. Because see, they thought you're a child, and they thought that marriage is where you got your power. They thought that's where you got your power. And they didn't know your power didn't come from that. Your power didn't come from your children being successful. Your power didn't come from your man, your husband. Your power came straight from God. But they gloated in that. And I didn't want to be around people like that. Family members, they gloated. Oh, they couldn't wait. On both sides. His family too. My husband too. His family too. All them his so-called siblings and his parents, his mom. Well, they were happy. Oh, they were happy for that separation. Oh, they were happy. They were happy. They didn't think about the mental health of the kids. And, even my mental health. Thank God I knew where my strength came from. I know my strength come from God. Right? And I knew how to get in there and pray. I knew how to remove myself from society and get on my face. If I didn't know that, maybe I would have broke down. But now God used that to elevate me. He used that to birth books out of me. He used that to birth businesses out of me. While they sitting there gloating, yes, sat there and gloated, jealous. Hmm. Yeah, but that's all right. And God will still use that because, everything happens in its timing. Everything happens in its timing. Exactly. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about that. I wouldn't even mention that, But yeah, what I'm saying is people will gloat in that. They gloated. And I don't know if he saw that, but I saw it. Oh, they was happy. I ain't trying to give no righteous advice, which I'm okay now. It is what it is. In the beginning, when I was still healing, I would have never mentioned that. Not during my healing stage. Yeah. They said and gloat in that because people don't want you to excel. They don't want your children. They don't want families to excel. They don't want things to excel. And it is what it is. I'm okay with that right now. At first, I was like, man, like you invested so many years and so much time, and you were hoping things would change, but you can't make people change who don't want to change. You can't make people change who don't want to change. You can't, you only can change yourself. Right? I'm gonna say that because I don't want to get here and speak and make it seem like it's somebody else's fault. If you gotta want to change yourself, right? You gotta want to grow yourself. You can't make anybody do anything. And a lot of times people don't know. I don't want to go here, but go here. A lot of times it be your own family doing spiritual things to you to cause your marriage not to succeed. Yes, you got your own stuff you're gonna work out because I got a book that I wrote back in 2018 that'll tell you some of our story. But at the same time, at the same time, we have to understand the foundation of things. Like, we have to understand foundational things. And when you're not totally healed, when you got mama and daddy and when you got mama issues, daddy issues, that's not the time to get married. Okay? But it is what it is. So my job is to teach from this. Okay? Not to sit and gloat and not to blame anyone because it takes two to tango. Okay? It takes two to um, make something work. It takes two for something to fail. I'm not hypocritical like that. It takes two. Okay? But my thing is, you got to make sure you are healed. Make sure you are healed and you are doing the part you do. But people will gloat in your pain. They love to see that. And see, a lot of times they gloat thinking it's going to stop you from shining. They gloat thinking it's going to bring misery upon you. When the gloating is when you gloat in somebody else's misery, you the awful one. When you feel so good about someone else's downfall, you got to check yourself. That has more to do with you, right? It says more about you than the person who's experiencing the pain. You got to be a miserable person to look at somebody going through something happy. Looking at somebody children through something and be happy about that. You the wicked one. You never looked at nobody like I'm glad they going through it. But I do see people who've done stuff out of malice, and I know it's God's judgment, and I still don't gloat in it. People who have done stuff out of malice to me, I can tell when judgment is being put on them. You can tell. But I don't sit and gloat in that. I just sit in myself like, you know what? But that's all right. That is okay. Stuff like that used to bother me. But as I've grown and I've realized that when you mature and you understand life, you can get past a lot of things. And I'm so proud of where I am at this moment because I've done a lot of work. Um I've done a lot of work, excuse me. And like my family said, Robin, yes, I'm free there. I think I'm free, and I feel like for such a time as this, it's time it's time to teach, and it's time to be true, real, and raw. There's no more holding back. You know, God had to heal me till I get to this point to where I'm no longer like holding back. I was kind of holding back in the beginning on certain things, because I felt like I wasn't healed from it, or felt like I wasn't ready. I feel like I'm ready now, and I know with that, and I'm a pray against it, but with that comes a lot of warfare, and that's okay. I think I'm equipped to handle it now. All that warfare I went through 2021, 22, I think I'm ready. I think I can fight. I think I could fight. I ain't gonna say bring it, but bring it. I'm equipped now. I'm equipped. I think I'm being tested and tried. I think I'm ready now. And that's the thing. When see when you finally become free, you understand what comes with that. You understand what comes with that. When you free yourself, right? When you free yourself from the shackles of others, you can really be free in what God is telling you to do. To me, I'm still kind of getting used to it because I really don't like all that attention. I was just thinking about my book. I wrote my book. Let me see if I got it here. And I haven't been advertising. You see, I haven't been advertising it. I just released my book, How to Play the Cards You've Been Dealt. I just released this book, and you can get it on Amazon. And I haven't been advertising it, but I am going to start selling it in my area where I live. But I released this book, and I haven't been advertising it because I still don't want all that attention. You know how oh, I don't know how to say this. You know how you make something? Well, thank you, Robin. You know how you make something. You know the thing that you've made, you have to get there to advertise it, but you don't want all the attention. That's how I am with my books. Y'all pray for me. Like the books that I write, I know I have to advertise and let people know I wrote the book. But I just don't want all that attention. I don't want all that attention on me. Yes, I'm on YouTube because I have to, but I don't want all that attention, if that makes sense. 'Cause when you're used to getting attention, you don't want all that unnecessary attention, right? When you're used to it, you don't even want it. The ones who don't get it, they'll do anything to get it. I don't be wanting all that attention like that. And I'm on YouTube because I have to, not because I want to. I want to be here. I said that so many times. And a lot of us who God is using, prophetic voices, they don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. I don't. But I'm doing it out of obedience. But I wrote this book, and I'm gonna come. I did a live to share with you all, but I really didn't want to do that. If you go back to that video, it was like, ugh, I had to make myself do it. So God is working with me to get me out of that mindset of not wanting to do it. Because I published the book, I should have been on her every day. Like some people, they push their products. I just don't want to do all that. I just don't feel like I don't want that attention, you know? But this video went from one thing to the next to the next. But we talk about narcissistic in-laws. And I'm gonna come back and talk about it. But yeah, but I don't be wanting all of that. I really don't. I really don't. Yeah, I really don't. So I was talking about everything. I started out talking about narcissistic in-laws, but I ended up talking about this and that and the other. As most of my videos, I'm gonna get to where I'm sticking to the topic soon. Cause I just be led. I be flowing with the spirit. Start out talking one thing, and one thing leads to another. Still be on that topic, but that's what I was talking about. But I hope you all be blessed. Well, no, I don't be doing it, D. Yeah. Yeah. I don't be, yeah, because I don't wanna, and that's the thing, I promote my book, but I just don't feel like, and I do want to do it to, make sales. But it just, I don't want all that attention on that area. And I got to do something that I don't want to do. The idea God gave me last night. I really don't want to do it, but I ain't gonna be disobedient. I'm not gonna be disobedient because if you spiritual, you know that disobedience when God whoop you is different. If you know, you know, right? If God whoop you, you different. It's different. You can't be. I can't be disobedient, and I got to get over myself. Me because I was getting a call, and then I know sometimes the call will kick out the volume on my mic. Just let me know. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, because I received a call, and but yeah, yeah, and I have some other projects that I'm working on. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Street Ministry. Um, but I just don't want all that attention. I'll just fall back because I think some people think when you're anointed and when you're set apart, you automatically get attention and you don't even try. People are drawn to you. And I see it with myself, like people are automatically drawn to me. I don't be wanting it, wanting it, but it's just part of it. Or and then two, not only does it bring attention from people, right? um, It brings attention from haters. Like people will be jealous of you for no reason. And they'll think you trying to suck up all they think you're looking to get all the attention when it's just naturally how you are, right? When it's just naturally how you are. And then two, when you're anointed like that, when you're favored like me, um, you have a lot of favor with people in high places. You have a lot of favor, like with law enforcement. You have favor with, managers and directors, and you have a lot of favor. And people see that favor on you, and then they'll try to destroy that. They'll try to say you said this about them. They'll try to say you said that about them. And you have to learn how to pray, continue to pray for favor, and continue to pray that God open the spiritual eyes of people. Because you got some people that are just, you got some wicked people in this world. And when they see that light in you and that favor in you, they're going to do anything to get people to change that good image. Because people see you as a good person. They know you about your business. They know you about business. They know you don't mess around and play around. You there about business to take care of business, and that's that. And people will get jealous of that. And what I used to do, which I don't do anymore, I used to know people would be doing stuff um and saying stuff to get people to look at me different. And I would stop and I'll scale back because I didn't want all that attention. Right. I didn't want all that attention. So I would scale back. But I don't do that no more. Now I go harder. I do what I've been doing and I do it in excellence. Because when you're young, you don't know what you're dealing with. I was young. I didn't know what I know now spiritually. It wasn't until I started having my own personal relationship with God, He started showing me different things. Then when He showed you stuff, then show me stuff, then I was able to grow and learn how to move and do different things. But I've been on here a long time with y'all. So I appreciate you all coming in. I just had to chit chat with you all. I went to get my car serviced. Um, so I said, let me do this video because this was on my mind. And yeah, I just want to share that with you all. And them in-laws, they can be something else. They would call reap havoc in your life. You got to speak up and stand up. Um, be bold and confident. Don't cower down. Don't try to keep the peace because you try to keep the peace, they have no regards to your feelings. If you try to keep the peace, you're gonna lose your peace. And you can keep the peace by being upfront and by having conversations. You can keep the peace, but you need to speak up and have conversations, right? You can keep the peace, but you got to speak up. You got to be an adult. You got to have the conversation. You got to call stuff out right there. It is. Discernment is key. And see, I was young and timid and afraid and still had my own issues that I was dealing with. So I always tried to be the peacemaker. All while I was starting a war within myself. I was keeping the peace while the war was within me because I was afraid to speak up and put people in their place. Now, that's a different story. Well, the devil wouldn't even try me today. You hear me? I'm gonna let the devil, he put his pinky toe in the water. I'm coming. Look, the devil put his pinky toe, that he testing the water, and I tested right on with him. I get right on his level, but in a spiritual way. I check that spirit in the moment. I speak up in the moment. I recognize what people are doing in the moment and I move accordingly. I don't do it no more. See, that's why the enemy hate when you have a relationship with God. This is when you dealing with this is when you know you're dealing with a narcissistic person, especially in a relationship. Let me tell you, when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, they hate your personal relationship with God. They hate how you commune with God. I saw a man on the internet and he got himself together, but there's a man on the internet, you can Google it. He got on these internet streets and he was telling his story, and he's a man for doing that. How he used to be jealous of his wife's relationship with God, her personal relationship. And vice versa. Some women probably are like that if they're narcissistic, but not saying he's a narcissist or anything, but he used to be jealous because how his wife had a personal relationship with God. And I've always had that. But sometimes it depends on who you're connected to. They will make it harder for you to tap in how you need to tap in because you're dealing with their warfare. You're dealing with their family stuff. You're dealing with their family issues. You dealing with their family generation of curses. You praying and fasting. You about to disappear. You fasting so much, trying to you fasting and praying, and it's not about that. You just connected to the wrong spirit. I don't care what nobody say. If you dealing with the demonic spirit, Yes, if they're your children, you can cast them out. But you can't change no adult who don't want to change. You can't change nobody who don't want to change. Either you're gonna have to clip away from that spirit, clip, separate yourself, divorce, whatever. But you can't make nobody change. That's why I think it's so many divorces. I see it as spiritual because a lot of people was under like this spell. They were under this religious spell. And when I say religious spell, it has nothing to do with God. Okay? Don't take that and twist that. It has nothing to do with God because if we did it God's way, there wouldn't be so many divorces. For the divorces that are divorced, they didn't do it God's way. They didn't keep themselves, man or woman. I'm not talking about this worldly way where they want the woman to be a virgin and the man not be a virgin. No, if you didn't do it God's way, most likely it's gonna end up in divorce. If you wasn't pure, that means the man being pure and the woman is not God's way. Whether we want to believe it or not, that ain't God's way. That's why you got so much turmoil because this thing is spiritual. But anyways, I ain't gonna get on that because this will be another 2 hour live dealing with that. But yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm just so thankful, so blessed. Just to be, it feels good to be delivered. I'm telling y'all, it feels good to be free in your spirit and in your soul. And most people don't have that. And they are jealous of that because they don't want to do the work. They don't want no relationship with God. They just want to be free, but they don't want to build a relationship with the one who can free you. Going to church every Sunday is not going to free you. Doing all the religious activities is not going to free you. You got to make that thing personal. You showing up Sunday, every Sunday for what? If you don't get a personal relationship, I don't care how many Sundays, because I lived growing up with people who went to church every Sunday, paid their tithe, and mean as a bull. Mean and hateful as a bull running wild in the field because there's no relationship. They caught up in activities, what it looks like. No relationship at all. Mean, when you find mean spirited people, they ain't got no relationship with God. Mm-mm. True people who got real relationship, they spirit friendly. They got a kind, loving spirit. Almost seem gullible or high. Almost seem like they're a drug addict who want some good ooh wee. When you find people that got a true relationship, they stay vibrant. You know, they are. They ain't gonna be like that all the time, right? They're not gonna be like that all the time, but you gonna feel it. They ain't gonna be mean mugging, they face all contorted. No, you gonna see joy and peace, love. Them old folks. My grandmother used to cook food. You tasted the love in that food. You go in their house, you go over to grandma's house and you go in there, you just fall asleep. Peaceful, peaceful. But once we grow up out of that and we get our own view of God, what he show us and not what we've been handed, You'll see a difference. You'll see a difference. Because when it's personal, oh, he gonna deal with you on the personal level. What that verse is: seek, and ye shall find, or ask, it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. Is that Matthew 7:7? But when you seek him, oh, you find him. Well, you gonna find him. But you gotta seek long enough to find him. What verse that is? Somebody Google that for me. Ask, and it should be given unto you. Seek, and you shall find. So I just want to share that with you all. I gotta go. I didn't plan on being on here this long. I need to go get my ear checked out because I think I got something going on in there. I don't know if it's wax or something done crawled in there. I need to get somebody to look in there. Well, you all be blessed. It was nice talking to you all. Hopefully I'll be able to come back later, but I just don't be having the time to really come and chat because I do be busy. But I need to start making the time. I need to start making the time uh, to do these lives and have these discussions. Okay. You all be blessed. I'll see you later.